Good afternoon, guys. My name is Alina Shaltsova. I'm an immigration attorney from New York. And in today's live presentation, we're going to talk about the most recent immigration news. Of course, going to talk about DV lottery results, what to do if you are one of the lucky ones who received the confirmation that you were selected for the next fiscal year. And we're going to talk about if you can adjust status or you have to choose consular processing, or maybe despite the fact that you were lucky, you will not be able to benefit from it. So please join us. Also, we're going to talk about immigration reform. What's new about this, whether or not we should potentially wait for something to happen anytime soon, and what is it can be and why. So please say hello, say hi, how you doing, where you're watching from. And of course, don't forget to save your questions, type them up, so I'll be able to answer them in the end. So I see we have a good amount of people joining. Thank you very much for joining, for spending your time with me. And let's start. Well, as you're aware, the lottery results are in, and you can check them on the website for official DV Lottery website. You will not receive anything by mail. I know many of you know that in the past, if you were selected, you would receive something by mail. Hi, Dmitry. Hi, Archie. But not anymore. You don't receive anything by mail. You have to be proactive and do it by yourself. And if you are a lucky person, you're going to receive something like this, that is going to say, dear so-and-so, you have been randomly selected for further processing in the diversity immigrant visa. Remember, for the fiscal year of 2023, which starts on October 1st, 2022 to September 30th, 2023, extremely important. Why it's extremely important to know that? It is because you see how it works. You have to receive your immigrant visa, but within that fiscal year. And if you don't, what's going to happen is that you will not be able to collect on that DV lottery. So whether you're going to use processing, consular processing, or adjustment of status, is extremely important that you're going to be within that time frame. Now, if you were somebody who were selected for the DV lottery, the first thing that you need to see, to check if you're going to be able to collect on that lottery or not. Basically, will it become a visa for you or not? To do so, you probably have to consult with an attorney sometimes, especially if you are already in the United States. If you are in the United States, you have to show usually that you have been maintaining lawful non-immigrant status from the time you entered the United States to be able to benefit from the DV lottery that you won. And you have to maintain that status up until the time you can file for adjustment of status, when your visa becomes current, visa number becomes current. Most likely, you will be somebody who is on H-1B visa or F-1 visa, sometimes L-1. Otherwise, asylum pending people, usually, guys, you cannot adjust your status based on a DV lottery win. You may, however, be able to use consular processing, especially if you are somebody from a country whose consulates are closed in their home countries. And now for visa processing, you will have to travel to a different country, and it will be a perfect situation for you, because as you know, if you're an asylum applicant, you will not be able to travel to your home country for visa processing usually, right? Because the whole reason why you file for asylum is not to return to that home country. And if you're somebody who is going to go through consular processing, then the main thing that you need to pay attention for is if you submitted correct and accurate information at the time when you were filling out that DV lottery entry. Usually people make mistakes with regard to the children, especially stepchildren. They decide not to mention all the children. And of course, if now they're going for that visa and on DS-260 form, they have to mention all their children, including stepchildren, they may be disqualified from the DV lottery visa. Happens all the time. Okay, happens all the time if there are discrepancies. If you're someone who was single at the time when you submitted your DV lottery, but now you would like to get married, believe it or not, your spouse actually will be able to benefit from that DV lottery as well, if, of course, they're going through the immigrant visa application process with you. So it's not an unusual situation when you are single, you play DV lottery, you win it, you get married, and then both of you can come to the United States as a result of that win. What to watch out for? Well, again, deadlines, extremely important. You miss your deadline, you are out of luck. Discrepancies and to be in status versus out of status. One more important thing I wanted to mention: if you are someone who overstayed F1 or J1 visas, for example, and you were never placed in removal proceedings, never received a notice from the government saying that your status was terminated, you have to leave the United States, most likely you have not started accumulating unlawful presence in the United States. And now, if you win a DV lottery, you can collect on it overseas, go through consular processing, and return back to the United States without the need of a waiver, which is extremely important. This is one example as to how someone who lives in the United States out of status sometimes may benefit from winning DV lottery. Okay. And of course, by the way, interestingly enough, I-601A waiver is available for somebody who wins DV lottery as well. According to the latest regulations, if you have a qualifying relative, which is a spouse, or, well, if you have a spouse, why would you rely on DV lottery? But if you most likely have a parent and who is a US citizen or green card holder and you win DV lottery, you may try to go through a I-601A waiver route, which I think just by processing times will not be able to come into reality, this plan, but it is technically, possibly, should be available. But realistically speaking, it's probably not going to happen. So that's what I wanted to share with you about DV lottery. Some people started asking me, what about people who won DV lottery in the past and were not able to come in due to COVID restrictions or due to travel ban restrictions? Guys, your cases are in litigation, and only litigation will be able to determine whether or not you'll be able to come in, even though your time to collect on that lottery passed, and only litigation will determine whether, or potential law that some lawmakers propose to adopt will be able to determine if you will be able to recapture those lost DV lottery cases. Otherwise, generally speaking, a person who were not able to enter the United States within the fiscal year when they received, within validity rather, of their visa that was issued during the fiscal year that they received it for, usually such a person will not be able to restore the DV lottery chance, so-called. So that's what's happening. Again, all grounds of inadmissibility potentially may be applied to a person who is filing for a DV lottery visa, including misrepresentation that happened in the past or criminal convictions. So if you have anything of that sort, it's the best if you consult with an attorney prior to going for that visa interview, guys. Extremely, extremely important. Now, I promised you to give you a short update with regard to immigration reform. Again, many people are asking me what's happening with essential workers, what's happening with some other programs. Well, I have been chasing the news, just like many of you. And even though we do see attempts by both Republicans and Democrats to agree on something, the point that they now are discussing and the point where they cannot come to an agreement, it seems, is the border and border security. Republicans believe that we have an open border and it presents great threat to the United States. Democrats believe that it's not a problem at all and we have a secured border. And as a result, they don't have a productive conversation. And as a result, it's not going anywhere. If we see something, it's probably going to be around the election time, even though some of my colleagues believe that nothing will be passed, because for Democrats, it's going to be a risky move to pass anything. They may lose a certain amount of voters. I think something should be passed, and I hope we will see something passed for at least DACA and DACA beneficiaries and farm workers, agricultural workers, because it seems both sides agree on that. But of course, I cannot guarantee you anything. For now, I would focus on traditional means of receiving status in the United States. Make sure if you qualify for TPS, file for it, no matter what you have in store, well, no matter what plans you have. Even if you have a possibility of adjusting your status through marriage. But, it always may fall through. Remember that, unfortunately. I would still encourage you to file for TPS. If you are from one of the countries that recently have been designated for TPS status or temporary protected status, like Afghanistan, Ukraine, Cameroon, for example, perhaps you may explore alternatives for adjustment of status. Maybe you have a chance of a family member sponsoring you. I met a client today who told me that they were not aware that a green card holder parent may file a petition for their unmarried adult son or daughter. It's very important to know that there is such an opportunity, because this preference category takes a long time. And the sooner you file for it, the faster the time is going to run. And potentially later, with a waiver, the person still may be able to benefit from this filing. I-601A waiver I'm referring to. Because in the preference family categories, guys, you have to be maintaining lawful non-immigrant status in order to be able to adjust your status in the United States if nothing changes. VAWA cases, VAWA Violence Against Women Act, which you can benefit from it, not necessarily if you're a woman. You can be also a man or a child or a parent. Also very important. A parent who was abused by a U.S. citizen child may qualify for VAWA benefits as well. And interestingly enough, for VAWA cases, you don't have to prove legal entry. The law excuses you from proving legal entry to the United States. One of the few times when it happens in the United States immigration laws. What else? U-Visa. U-Visa, if you are a victim of a crime in the United States, you may benefit from special provisions that allow you to receive status in the United States in the form of a U-Visa status and then green card. What is good about this status is that it comes with a very generous waiver of almost all immigration violations, even prior removals. What's bad about this status is that it takes forever to receive it, about 5 years now. So many different, sometimes there are options, not many different, but sometimes there are options. It's always good to see if anything applies to you. And now, guys, I'll be happy to answer some of your questions. Let me see. What do we have? Hi, everyone. Hi, Sadar. How are you? Hi, Muhammad. What's the process for coming to the United States? Well, it's an excellent question, but I think I will have to sit in this chair for 10 hours explaining it. On my website, shautsova.com, actually, there is an article, How to Immigrate to the United States. And it explains that there are just very limited options for someone to come to the United States, either based on family-sponsored petitions, employment, or investment. Those are usual routes. And then you can read and see if any of that applies to you And if you feel that some of that is relevant to you, then you can consult with an attorney to see if some of those routes are actually may happen in real immigration. If you'd like to come to visit the United States, you don't need to have a sponsor or anything like that. It's a B1, B2 visa. But of course, you have to overcome the presumption of immigrant intent. Immigrant intent is a presumption that is used against you in the consular proceedings to argue that you actually would like to come and stay in the United States, all right? So otherwise, anyone would be able easily to come to the United States. Hi, Laurent in New York City. Hi, Ibrahim. Hi, Archie. Hi, Khalid. Hi, Ali. I'm watching you from Chicago. Please update us about essential workers immigration reform or people living in the United States illegally and paying taxes. What do you think about their future? I think, guys, that you probably will not like what I truly think. I think that there will be something done for you guys, but I don't think it's going to happen too soon. The reason is, again, elections and pros and cons of that election time. Of course, before the elections, each side would like to attract voters. And then we need to analyze the pools of people that those elected officials are hoping to attract. Are those pools for immigration or against, and whose interests they would like to serve? I'm talking about elected officials. I firmly believe that there will be something passed for DACA kids. Why I believe that is because it's time and it's obvious that something has to happen. When it's going to happen? Well, I hope it's going to happen closer to November, but of course I cannot guarantee it. For essential workers, it seems that all discussions actually stopped. Okay, discussions involving specifically the term essential workers. I know that there are discussions regarding farm workers, agricultural workers, just because the economy of the United States is such that it became obvious without those people, the economy cannot move forward. But essential workers, I feel that nobody is talking about them anymore. There is a lot of discussion about specific adjustment acts, for example, for people from Afghanistan. And of course, discussions about speeding up the immigration system. But that's about that. Do not want to disappoint you again. Hi, Liridan. I have one question. Someone who got green card through asylum and apply for his home country passport, what can happen? Can they take back green card and SLE status? Well, in theory, they can. You are absolutely correct. If the government determines that there are reasons to believe that you obtained your asylum status by fraud, they may initiate proceedings against you, taking the status back. All right. So I don't think there is a need for you to apply for the passport from your home country. If you are worried about your international travel, an asylee person, and even if you receive your green card, should travel using asylee travel document. You can receive it by filing Form I-131, and that will be your document for the purposes of international travel. Unfortunately, not every country in the world accepts that document, but majority of them do. So there is no need to subject your status to this and yourself to the stress, Hi, Rector, watching from Queens. Yay! I like Queens. I used to live in Queens. Hi, Yulia. What is with immigration court's backlog memorandum? Oh man, there were so many of them. If you're referring to the latest changes where the government basically stated that they will try to close up to 700,000 cases, exercising prosecutorial discretion. my advice would be the following. If you are someone who is in removal proceedings, you need to discuss with your attorney if it's worth it for you to have your case closed or dismissed in court or terminated. Remember, if you choose this route, it means that you are no longer going to be in removal proceedings, but it also means that you will lose your employment authorization, and sometimes you really need it to survive, and you're also going to lose your chance of fighting for the status that you've been fighting for, asylum or cancellation of removal. If you have a weak case, if there are problems in your case, like missed deadline, perhaps it is a good option for you. But this is something you need to know, that right now the government is going to place a lot of efforts on closing cases. And it's actually something that you need to be ready for this question when you go for your master hearing. I just found out about that the government, rather than reaching to your attorney prior to the master hearing, is going to ask you this question at the master hearing. So you better be ready for that. You better be ready for that question. Hi, Sheikh. How can I get a work permit in the United States? Excellent question. I have a whole video about this on my YouTube channel. So if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, you should. Generally speaking, a work permit in the United States is not given freely. You either have to be in a special status that allows you to work, such as H-1B or L-1, for example, or you have to be filing for something that allows you to work while you are waiting for the status, like asylum pending or adjustment of status pending. But that's about the most common ways for someone to work in the United States. Otherwise, a work in the United States without work permit is not authorized. Oh, hi, Recto. Loves those dolls in the corner. I love my dolls. They're from Belarus, country where I'm originally from. And I know they help me in the background, with their positive energy. Hi, Terquil. I submitted request prosecutorial discretion. How long should it take? Excellent question. Nobody knows the answer. In my experience, you can wait for as short as a week, or sometimes you wait for several months. And sometimes after like 30 days or so, I follow up as a prosecutor and say, hey, how's our request is doing? And they get back to me saying, we're still reviewing it. So no one knows. I will have to tell you, though, that currently, if you potentially have an issue in your case, such as a claim of US citizenship, or potential misrepresentation of fraud or marriage fraud, prosecutorial discretion, or asylum, frivolous asylum filing, prosecutorial discretion request may be denied, just so you're aware of that. It's a very important point that I don't think I spoke with you guys previously. Hi, Atif. Hi, Pina. I don't believe anymore anything will happen for essential workers. To be honest, probably not. Just if you're following the news, it seems the discussion is pretty much dead, which is very upsetting. But again, I also feel that if we, as a group of people, would be more active advocating for that, for those people and for immigrants in general, something would have to happen. All right, something would have to happen. Have to happen. Yeah, it's sad. It's frustrating, very frustrating. They gave us hope. I agree. Hi, Recto. I am a victim of labor trafficking. Am I eligible for a T visa? Excellent question. A victim of labor trafficking may be eligible for the T visa, correct, if you fit definition of the labor trafficking, according to the law. So in T visa cases, the first thing that you need to do is you need to report the crime to the investigating agency. If they do not act on your report, then you can proceed filing your T visa, interesting enough, right, without didn't need to wait for the certification or approval. So absolutely, if you feel that you were taken advantage by your employer, you were not paid minimum wage, if your immigration status was held against you, if you were forced, to work for somebody, and otherwise, if you feel that you were abused in terms of labor and trafficking, and trafficking, by the way, does not necessarily mean that you were moved from state to state or through the border. That's very important to know. Or any serious labor violation may meet the definition of labor trafficking under the immigration laws. You should consult with an attorney and see if you have a chance. It doesn't matter how many years passed, guys. But you do need to come forward with evidence, though. You also have to prove that you haven't maintained your lawful status or as departed the United States because of that harms that you suffered. Extremely important. But many people will be able to. Many people will be able to. Hi, Agidi. Can someone in immigration court with master hearing coming up next month and filed I-130 marriage based 2 months ago ask judge for prosecutorial discretion when he attend his master before he gets approved? Excellent question. Yes, you can. I'm not sure what the judge and the prosecutor would want to do in this situation. Previously, during the Obama time, it was routine to ask for that. And it was routine that the court would terminate your proceedings without prejudice, meaning that they can be reopened if something goes sour, for you to be able to adjust your status. Nowadays, I really do not know, but can you? Of course you can. There's no harm in that, Hi, Mark. Are Russian citizens allowed to get tourist visa or any visa now? I'm not aware of any ban where Russian citizens would not be allowed to come to the United States. Okay, I'm not aware of any ban like that. They may have difficulties receiving those visas just because they may have difficulties traveling to Warsaw. That is refusing, according to my information, and again, I can be wrong, refusing to issue visas to Russians to visit Warsaw, visit Poland. But I'm not aware of any specific ban. Hi, Sam. Can my daughter sponsor me? She's 23 years old. If your daughter is a US citizen and she has sufficient income, if she doesn't have sufficient income, she has to find a joint sponsor. She can absolutely submit a petition for a non-citizen parent. Now, will you be able to adjust status in the United States? It's a whole different issue. Generally speaking, a person has to show that they entered the United States with inspection or parole to be able to adjust status. So a 23-year-old US citizen child should be able to sponsor their parent, but adjustment, whether it's going to be possible or not, I would recommend that you consult with an attorney. Recently met somebody who shared with me very sad story as to how their adjustment did not work out. So the person has lived in the United States for a long time, was working in the United States for a long time, entered the United States legally to begin with, had US citizen child who turned 21 and who sponsored the person. When the person went for that adjustment of status interview unprepared because they believed that, they're going to have an easy case, they admitted to the USCIS officer that they worked in the United States without authorization, but also that they claimed to be a US citizen while working in the United States to get those jobs. And the person's adjustment of status application was denied, and it's denied forever, guys. Denied forever because there is no waiver for claim of US citizenship, just so you know. Actually, a very sad story, and there is nothing much can be done for such a person unless, for example, they're placed in removal proceedings where they potentially may qualify for cancellation of removal. Sometimes also if a person qualifies for U visa, then you can ask for a waiver as well. Let me see. Hi, Atif. My family-based adjustment of status and adversary is pending since November 2019 and not moving anywhere. I see many cases from 2019 are pending. Is there any particular reason? New cases are getting approved much quicker. You know, I'll be honest with you. I do not know why it happened to you. 2019 seems to be a long time. I would suggest that you contact a U.S. congressman to see what is going on with your case, okay? Because usually you are correct. It takes about a year to go through the family-based, marriage-based adjustment of status. Unless, of course, there is something more to it. For example, you were in removal proceedings, you asked to reschedule your interview. It shouldn't take that long. It shouldn't take that long. All right. Well, guys, thank you very much for all your questions and wonderful comments. Thank you very much for your good wishes to me. I do appreciate them. Thank you for joining me. Please like and share this video if you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Join my Facebook page so we can stay together next time I go live and answer your questions. And it's great to see